Beneath the endless ice of Antarctica lies a secret so vast, so mysterious, it challenges everything we think we know about human history. Picture this, a continent twice the size of Australia, buried under miles of frozen wilderness, where temperatures plummet to -100 degrees and winds scream like ghosts across the desolate landscape. For centuries, explorers braved these lethal conditions, convinced something extraordinary waited beneath the ice. And now, with cutting-edge technology piercing the frozen veil, we're uncovering clues that suggest they might have been right all along. Satellite images reveal strange, unnatural shapes beneath the ice, structures too precise, too symmetrical to be the work of nature alone. Could these be the remnants of an ancient civilization, lost to time and frozen in silence for thousands of years? The idea of a forgotten world beneath Antarctica's ice sounds like something ripped from the pages of a science fiction novel, but the evidence is mounting. Scientists using ground-penetrating radar have detected massive underground formations that defy geological explanation. Some stretch for miles, their geometric patterns eerily reminiscent of man-made cities. Even more astonishing are the whispers of advanced technology, artifacts so out of place, they've sparked theories of prehistoric societies with knowledge rivaling our own. How could such a civilization thrive in one of the most inhospitable places on Earth? And if they did, what catastrophic event buried their achievements under millennia of ice? This isn't just about dusting off old myths or chasing shadows. It's about rewriting the story of humanity. Imagine standing at the edge of history, peering into a past we never knew existed. Every new discovery cracks open another door, revealing glimpses of a world that challenges our understanding of time, technology, and survival. From enigmatic maps dating back to the 1500s, maps that somehow depict Antarctica free of ice, to modern-day expeditions uncovering artifacts that shouldn't exist, the puzzle grows more tantalizing with each clue. So join me as we venture into the frozen unknown, where science meets speculation and the line between myth and reality blurs. What awaits us beneath the ice might just change everything. Long before Antarctica became the frozen wasteland we know today, it was a land of towering forests, winding rivers, and even bustling ecosystems teeming with life. Imagine a world where palm trees swayed under warm winds and massive creatures roamed fertile plains, because that was Antarctica roughly 50 million years ago. This drastic transformation didn't happen overnight. The continent's journey from lush paradise to icy tomb is a saga of shifting continents, changing climates, and a planetary cooling event so profound it locked Antarctica in a deep freeze. The key to this mystery lies in plate tectonics. Around 180 million years ago, Antarctica was part of the supercontinent Gondwana, nestled alongside South America, Africa, Australia, and India. As these landmasses slowly drifted apart, Antarctica's fate was sealed by its gradual isolation at the South Pole. But the real game-changer came during the Eocene-Oligocene transition, roughly 34 million years ago, when global temperatures plummeted. Carbon dioxide levels dropped, ocean currents shifted, and for the first time, ice began creeping across the continent. Over millennia, the ice sheets thickened, burying any traces of the vibrant world that once existed beneath them. What's truly astonishing is the speed at which this change occurred. Geological records suggest Antarctica's transformation from temperate to frozen took less than 100,000 years, a blink of an eye in Earth's timeline. This rapid shift raises a tantalizing question. If advanced civilizations did exist here, could they have adapted quickly enough to survive, even briefly, as their world froze around them? Some researchers point to ancient myths describing cataclysmic climate shifts, suggesting these stories might be fragmented memories of real events. Others argue that Antarctica's brief window of habitability, combined with its now inaccessible ruins, makes it the perfect candidate for humanity's lost chapter. The evidence isn't just buried in ice, it's written in the rocks, fossilized pollen, tree stumps, and even the bones of prehistoric marsupials paint a vivid picture of Antarctica's green past. Marine sediments reveal that the continent once had a climate similar to modern-day Patagonia, with temperatures rarely dipping below freezing. Yet today, those same regions are buried under ice 2 miles thick. The sheer scale of this change forces us to reconsider what's possible. If entire forests vanished without a trace, what else might be hidden beneath the ice? Cities, temples, technologies we can't yet comprehend. This isn't just about geology, it's about rewriting the boundaries of human history. Antarctica's dramatic past challenges us to think bigger, dig deeper, and question the stories we've been told. After all, if a continent can transform so completely, who's to say our ancestors couldn't have thrived there, leaving only whispers beneath the snow? One of the most compelling pieces of evidence suggesting Antarctica may have been known to ancient civilizations comes from a centuries-old map that defies logic, the Piri Reis map of 1513. Drawn by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis, this fragmented parchment shows coastlines with staggering accuracy, including what some researchers believe is the outline of Antarctica without its ice. The implications are staggering. How could a 16th-century map depict a continent that wouldn't be officially discovered for another 300 years? And even more puzzling, how could it show landmasses buried under miles of ice as if someone had seen them free of their frozen shackles? The map's mysteries don't end there. Piri Reis himself noted that his work was compiled from older source maps, some dating back to the time of Alexander the Great. Could these lost documents have preserved knowledge from even earlier civilizations, ones that explored or even inhabited Antarctica during its ice-free past? Mainstream scholars argue that the so-called Antarctica on the map is merely a mislabeled South America or a speculative landmass, but critics point to the striking resemblance between the map's coastline and subglacial surveys of Antarctica's actual terrain, hidden beneath the ice. The map's depiction of the Queen Maud Land region, for instance, aligns eerily with modern sonar readings of the continent's bedrock. Then there's the matter of precision. The Piri Reis map boasts latitude measurements accurate to within half a degree, a feat supposedly impossible for the technology of its time. This has led some to propose that ancient seafarers possessed advanced cartographic knowledge, possibly inherited from a lost civilization with navigational skills rivaling our own. Others speculate that the map's accuracy stems from a forgotten age of exploration, when warmer global temperatures made Antarctic voyages feasible. Could there have been a Bronze Age Columbus charting lands that would later vanish under ice? The debate rages on, but one thing is certain. The Piri Reis map forces us to confront uncomfortable gaps in our historical narrative. If it truly depicts Antarctica ice-free, it suggests a cataclysmic climate shift erased not just ecosystems, but potentially entire chapters of human achievement. And if it's merely a coincidence, why does it haunt the edges of our understanding, daring us to reconsider what we think we know? Whether a relic of ancient genius or a cartographic curiosity, this map remains a tantalizing piece in Antarctica's frozen puzzle, one that challenges us to question not just our past, but the very nature of discovery itself. While Antarctica's ancient mysteries captivate historians, its more recent secrets involve a darker chapter, one tied to the shadows of Nazi Germany. In the late 1930s, as Europe teetered on the brink of war, Adolf Hitler's regime launched an unprecedented expedition to the frozen continent. Codenamed New Swabia, this mission sent the research vessel Schwabenland to Antarctica in 1938, armed with advanced aircraft and a singular goal: to claim territory in the name of the Third Reich. The Nazis dropped thousands of steel-tipped swastika flags onto the ice, symbolically staking their claim. But what were they really after? Official records state the expedition focused on scientific research and whaling territory, yet conspiracy theories paint a far stranger picture. Rumors persist that the Nazis sought more than just land. Whispers of occult interests, hidden technologies, and even contact with supernatural forces have woven themselves into the mythos of New Swabia. Some claim the Nazis discovered ancient ruins or energy vortices beneath the ice, tapping into knowledge lost to time. Others suggest they built secret underground bases, continuing their experiments in isolation long after the war ended. The most outlandish theories allege that high-ranking officials, including Hitler himself, escaped to these Antarctic strongholds, a notion fueled by declassified intelligence reports noting unexplained U-boat activity near the continent in 1945. Separating fact from fiction requires a clear-eyed look at the evidence. While it's true the Nazis invested heavily in Antarctica, much of the intrigue stems from their obsession with the occult and fringe science. The Onanub, a pseudo-scientific branch of the SS, actively pursued myths of Hyperborea, a supposed Arctic or Antarctic homeland of a superior Aryan race. This blend of nationalism and mysticism created fertile ground for wild speculation. Yet declassified documents and geological surveys have found no trace of hidden bases or advanced technology. The Schwabenland expedition's most tangible legacy, detailed aerial photographs of the region valuable for science but hardly proof of a Nazi Atlantis. Still, the allure of New Swabia endures, partly because Antarctica itself is a blank canvas for the imagination. Its impenetrable ice and isolation make it the perfect setting for conspiracy. And while the Nazis may not have uncovered ancient secrets or built ice fortresses, their expedition raises a chilling question. In a world where history is written by the victors, what truths might still lie buried, not under ice but in the unseen corners of classified archives? The New Swabia myth reminds us that even in the age of satellites and sonar, Antarctica guards its mysteries well. Whether fact or fantasy, the stories we tell about it reveal more about our own fascinations and fears than the frozen continent itself. Just 2 years after World War II ended, the United States launched one of the largest military expeditions ever sent to Antarctica, Operation Highjump. Officially labeled as a research mission, this massive undertaking involved 13 ships, multiple aircraft, and over 4,000 personnel under the command of Admiral Richard Byrd, a legendary polar explorer. The scale of the operation raised eyebrows from the start. Why would a supposedly scientific venture require such an overwhelming military presence? The official explanation, training personnel and testing equipment in extreme conditions, felt thin, especially when Byrd himself later hinted at something far stranger lurking beneath the ice. Admiral Byrd's cryptic statements during press conferences afterward fueled decades of speculation. In one interview, he warned that America should prepare for the possibility of an attack by enemy aircraft flying from pole to pole with incredible speed. At the time, no known technology could achieve such feats, leaving many to wonder what he had encountered. Even more baffling were his references to a land beyond the pole, a phrase that suggested uncharted territory defying all known geography. Some interpreted this as evidence of hidden civilizations or even extraterrestrial activity, while skeptics dismissed it as metaphorical musings. But Byrd's own diary entries, though heavily debated, add another layer to the mystery. In one alleged passage, Byrd describes flying over an area devoid of ice, with lush valleys and strange, disc-shaped aircraft shadowing his plane. He mentions encountering beings who warned him against returning, speaking of humanity's misuse of technology. While mainstream historians question the diary's authenticity, the details align eerily with other accounts of advanced Antarctic phenomena. Could Byrd have stumbled upon remnants of an ancient society, or even a breakaway civilization hidden beneath the ice? The timing of Operation Highjump adds to the intrigue. Launched at the dawn of the Cold War, was this mission truly about science, or was it a strategic move to counter Nazi claims in Antarctica? The military's silence only deepened the mystery. After initially announcing a planned 8-month mission, Operation Highjump was abruptly cut short after just 6 weeks, with ships returning in apparent haste. Official reports cited mechanical failures and harsh weather, but rumors swirled of catastrophic encounters. Declassified documents later revealed that Bayard had been debriefed in secret by Pentagon officials, with details classified for decades. What they discussed remains unknown, but the whispers persist of strange aerial maneuvers, equipment malfunctions near certain ice formations, and an unspoken urgency behind the retreat. Whether Admiral Bayard encountered advanced technology, ancient secrets, or simply the limits of human endurance in Antarctica's brutal environment, his legacy is inseparable from the continent's enduring enigmas. His words and actions opened a door to speculation that remains unanswered, a testament to the fact that even in the modern age, Antarctica guards its truths fiercely. The real story of Operation Highjump may not lie in the official records, but in the gaps between them where history and mystery collide. In the age of satellite technology, Antarctica's secrets aren't just buried, they're being unmasked from space. High-resolution images reveal formations so striking they've ignited fierce debate. Jagged peaks resembling pyramids, sprawling geometric patterns stretching for miles, and what appear to be vast tunnel-like corridors beneath the ice. The most famous of these anomalies, the so-called Antarctic pyramids, a cluster of near-perfect triangular peaks rising from the frozen expanse. Their symmetry is uncanny, with sides aligning almost precisely to the cardinal directions, a feature rarely seen in natural geology. Could these be the eroded remains of ancient monuments, or merely the tricks of light and ice? Geologists offer a more conventional explanation: none attacks. These are rocky outcrops that jut through glaciers, often weathered by wind and time into sharp, angular shapes. In Antarctica's extreme conditions, such formations can appear unnaturally precise, especially when viewed from above. Satellite imagery, while powerful, can distort perspective, turning ordinary ridges into seemingly engineered structures. Yet even skeptics admit some of these formations defy easy categorization. Take the grid lines discovered near the continent's eastern coast, a series of intersecting, straight-line patterns spanning hundreds of kilometers. Natural fractures in ice sheets don't typically produce such rigid symmetry, leading some researchers to propose these could be remnants of colossal, buried infrastructure. Then there's the enigma of Wilkes Land. Satellite gravity scans uncovered a massive, dense structure 250 miles wide, buried under a mile of ice. Initial theories suggested a colossal asteroid impact, but the shape doesn't match typical craters. Instead, it appears oddly circular with a central hub and radiating lines, almost like a prehistoric city's ruins. Mainstream science attributes this to ancient tectonic activity, but alternative researchers point to its eerie resemblance to Plato's descriptions of Atlantis, complete with concentric rings. The truth may lie somewhere in between, natural phenomena amplified by human imagination, or perhaps something stranger still. The debate sharpens when examining thermal scans. Certain regions of Antarctica emit unusual heat signatures inconsistent with surrounding ice. While geothermal activity isn't unheard of, the distribution of these hotspots raises questions. Could they mark the presence of underground cavities, spaces where ancient structures might lie insulated from the crushing weight of ice above? Expeditions to these zones report bizarre magnetic anomalies, with compasses spinning wildly and equipment malfunctioning. One theory posits that metallic artifacts, if buried deep enough, could disrupt Earth's magnetic field in these localized patches. What's fascinating isn't just the existence of these anomalies, but how they force us to re-examine the boundaries of archaeology. Traditional methods can't easily penetrate 2 miles of ice, leaving satellites as our primary window into this frozen underworld. Yet every pixel of data comes with layers of interpretation. The human brain is wired to seek patterns, to see faces in clouds and castles in mountains. Antarctica's mysteries thrive in that liminal space between observation and imagination, where every shadow could be a Chinese letter, or a clue. Whether these structures are the work of nature, history, or something beyond, they remind us that Earth's last uncharted frontier still holds stories waiting to be told. The ice may keep its secrets for now, but with each passing year, technology chips away at its silence. To understand Antarctica's potential as a cradle for lost civilizations, we must first rewind the clock, back to a time when the continent wasn't a frozen graveyard but a living, breathing world. Fossil records paint a startling picture: remnants of beech forests, ferns, and even flowering plants buried deep beneath the ice, preserved like ghostly imprints of a forgotten summer. These aren't just scraps of vegetation, they're fragments of ecosystems that thrived as recently as 3 million years ago during the Pliocene epoch, when global temperatures were only slightly warmer than today. But dig deeper and the evidence becomes even more extraordinary. Core samples from sediment layers reveal pollen from plants that couldn't survive perpetual frost, species requiring distinct seasons, warm rainfall, and fertile soil. How could such delicate life exist at the bottom of the world? The answer lies in Antarctica's dramatic climatic swings. During the Eocene, roughly 50 million years ago, the continent basked in subtropical warmth, with average temperatures hovering around 50 degrees Fahrenheit, comparable to modern-day New York or London. Crocodiles slithered through its wetlands, and towering primates clambered through rainforests that would later vanish under ice. Even as global cooling began, pockets of habitability persisted. Scientists studying fossilized diatoms, microscopic algae, in dry valley sediments found evidence of liquid lakes and rivers as recently as 14 million years ago. These weren't fleeting oases but stable freshwater systems that could have supported complex life. If mammals could flourish here, why not humans or their ancestors? The most tantalizing clues come not from plants, but from the creatures that once roamed this lost paradise. In 2016, researchers on Seymour Island unearthed the hip bone of a prehistoric marsupial, a species previously thought to exist only in South America. This discovery proved Antarctica acted as a land bridge between continents, teeming with migratory species long after its isolation. More startling are the unconfirmed reports of fossilized wood tools and charcoal patches in the Transantarctic mountains, artifacts that, if verified, could rewrite the timeline of human ingenuity. While mainstream archaeology dismisses these claims, they align with indigenous oral histories from South America's Mapuche people, who speak of a legendary southern land called Wenu Mapu, a fertile realm swallowed by ice. What's often overlooked is the sheer speed of Antarctica's transformation. Sediment cores from the Ross Ice Shelf show that the continent's glaciation wasn't a slow creep but a cascade. Around 34 million years ago, a critical threshold was crossed. Atmospheric carbon dioxide dipped below 750 parts per million, triggering runaway ice formation. Within mere millennia, glaciers advanced like armies, entombing everything in their path. But here's the haunting question: could an intelligent species, even a primitive one, have witnessed this collapse? Modern humans emerged only 300,000 years ago, but the genus Homo dates back over 2 million years. If early hominins reached Southeast Asia's islands by boat, as Flores' hobbit fossils suggest, why not Antarctica's then temperate coasts? The implications are staggering. If Antarctica hosted even temporary human habitation, its glaciation would have been an extinction-level event for those communities, erasing not just lives but entire cultures. Their tools, shelters, and stories would now lie entombed under ice miles thick, visible only through the faintest ghost signals in radar scans. Perhaps this explains why no definitive proof has been found. The evidence isn't buried, it's pulverized by millennia of glacial grinding. Yet the absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. As climate models grow more sophisticated, they reveal a startling truth. Antarctica's past was far more dynamic, far more possible than we ever imagined. And if life could cling to its edges once, who's to say it didn't leave marks too subtle for our shovels to uncover? Graham Hancock's vision of human history isn't just unconventional, it's explosive. He argues that our textbooks are missing entire chapters, erased by a cataclysmic event around 12,000 years ago, at the heart of his theory. A sophisticated global civilization, thriving during the last ice age, whose survivors scattered their knowledge across the world as rising seas swallowed their homeland. And where does Antarctica fit in? Hancock proposes it wasn't always the frozen wasteland we know today. During the Pleistocene epoch, parts of the continent could have been ice-free, even temperate, a perfect cradle for an advanced society. When climate change triggered massive flooding at the end of the Ice Age, this civilization's remnants allegedly inspired the flood myths found in over 200 cultures, from the Epic of Gilgamesh to Plato's Atlantis. Hancock's evidence hinges on startling anomalies. He points to the Piri Reis map's eerie accuracy, ancient texts describing celestial knowledge only possible with advanced astronomy, and megalithic sites like Göbekli Tepe, a 12,000-year-old temple complex that predates agriculture by millennia. These, he argues, aren't random leaps of human ingenuity but the fingerprints of a lost mentor culture. Antarctica's potential role, a refuge or even the original homeland, later buried under ice as sea levels rose 400 feet. Satellite images of subglacial structures like the ones near Lake Vostok fuel his speculation. If even a fraction of these formations are artificial, they could rewrite history. Mainstream archaeologists dismiss Hancock's ideas as pseudoscience, and their rebuttals are blunt. They argue the Piri Reis map's Antarctica is likely South America distorted by imperfect cartography. Göbekli Tepe, while revolutionary, shows no signs of imported technology, just hunter-gatherer innovation. As for Antarctica's habitability, ice core data reveals the continent has been frozen for at least 15 million years, making human occupation implausible. Critics also highlight Hancock's reliance on interpretation over hard evidence. No tools, no dwellings, no DNA traces linking ancient Antarctica to known civilizations. Without physical proof, they say, his theory remains a captivating what-if, not a testable hypothesis. Yet Hancock's work taps into a deeper frustration with conventional archaeology. Why do we assume civilization only began 5,000 years ago? Why dismiss oral traditions as mere myth when they describe landscapes like an ice-free Antarctica that align with geological data? His theories force us to confront the gaps in our knowledge. Even if every detail isn't accurate, the central question lingers. Could humanity's story be older, stranger, and more dramatic than we've dared to imagine? The debate isn't just about Antarctica. It's about how we reconstruct the past when so much evidence may lie crushed under ice or drowned beneath the waves. Until we can dig deeper, the continent's frozen silence keeps its secrets. Rising from the icy wastes near Antarctica's Ellsworth Mountains, a singular formation captures the imagination like no other, a near-perfect four-sided peak dubbed the Antarctic Pyramid. With slopes angling at a precise 51 degrees, eerily similar to Egypt's Great Pyramid of Giza, this geological oddity has sparked furious debate. Is it a freak of nature carved by millennia of wind and ice, or the last remnant of a civilization swallowed by the freeze? Satellite images reveal 3 additional pyramidal shapes nearby, aligned in a formation that mirrors celestial patterns found at ancient sites worldwide. The symmetry is so uncanny, it's hard to dismiss as coincidence. geologists argue that Nunatak's wind-sculpted mountain peaks can naturally take on pyramidal shapes, especially in Antarctica's hurricane-force winds. They point to the Matterhorn in the Alps or Mount Björnstindjur in Iceland as examples of nature's architectural prowess. The Ellsworth Pyramid's composition, primarily granite, shows no tool marks or quarried blocks. Yet skeptics of the natural origin theory highlight a peculiar detail. The formation's base measures almost exactly 800 meters per side, a scale found in sacred structures from Teotihuacan to the Giza Plateau. Even more intriguing, ground-penetrating radar detects hollow spaces beneath the structure, though whether these are fissures or chambers remains unknown. Comparisons to man-made pyramids deepen the mystery. The Antarctic formation's alignment mirrors Earth's cardinal directions within a margin of error smaller than many ancient monuments. While Egyptian pyramids were built with intentional astronomical precision, Antarctica's icy geometry raises a tantalizing question. Could natural forces really replicate such exactitude? Proponents of the artificial origin theory suggest that if this were a ruin, its outer casing stones might have eroded, leaving only the rugged core we see today. Others propose a middle ground, that ancient builders could have modified a natural peak, carving it into symbolic significance, much like Mount Rushmore's presidential faces. The debate takes a stranger turn when examining the site's magnetic anomalies. Compasses near the pyramid fluctuate wildly, a phenomenon documented at megalithic sites like Coral Castle in Florida. While metallic ore deposits could explain this, no significant mineral veins have been detected. Some researchers speculate that if the structure contains metallic components, whether from ancient construction or some unknown technology, it might disrupt local magnetic fields. Until direct excavation is possible, these theories remain in limbo, trapped between tantalizing clues and the ice's impenetrable grip. What makes this enigma so compelling isn't just the formation itself, but its location. The Ellsworth Mountains lie near the edge of Antarctica's frozen shield, where ancient maps like Piri Reis suggest coastlines might have once been ice-free. If humans did inhabit this region thousands of years ago, could they have left markers for a world they knew was vanishing? Or are we projecting our fascinations onto the indifferent contours of rock and ice? The answer may lie hidden, not just beneath Antarctica's surface, but in our own willingness to question how much of history's tapestry has unraveled into the cold. Beneath Antarctica's frozen surface lies a hidden world of liquid water, vast subglacial lakes, sealed away from sunlight and open air for millions of years. At the center of this mystery is Lake Vostok, the largest of these buried reservoirs, stretching over 250 kilometers long and holding more water than Lake Ontario. Trapped under nearly 4 kilometers of ice, this ancient body of water has been isolated from the outside world for at least 15 million years. Yet despite the crushing pressure and perpetual darkness, scientists suspect it could harbor life, not just simple microbes, but organisms so strange they might redefine our understanding of survival itself. The discovery of Lake Vostok was no accident. In the 1970s, Soviet researchers drilling ice cores near Vostok Station noticed something bizarre. Their radar signals kept bouncing back from an unseen boundary far below. It wasn't until the 1990s that satellite data confirmed the truth. A massive liquid lake kept from freezing by geothermal heat and the insulating weight of the ice above. The implications were staggering. Here was a lost ecosystem, potentially preserving life forms unchanged since the Miocene epoch, when mastodons still roamed the Earth. But accessing it would require breaching a time capsule sealed since before humanity existed. When drilling finally reached the lake's surface in 2012, the scientific community held its breath. Researchers encountered not just water, but an environment teeming with unexpected complexity. Genetic analysis revealed traces of over 3,000 unique microorganisms, some so genetically distinct they seemed unrelated to known life. Even more startling were the findings from ice cores just above the lake, microscopic structures resembling bacteria, but with DNA sequences unlike anything in global databases. Could these be remnants of a lineage that evolved in total isolation, cut off from the rest of the biosphere? The possibility raises profound questions. If life thrives in Vostok's eternal night, what might lurk in similar lakes beneath the ice of Europa or Enceladus? Yet the lake's secrets come with ethical dilemmas. Drilling risks contaminating this pristine ecosystem with modern microbes, potentially destroying the very life scientists seek to study. The original Vostok drill used kerosene as antifreeze, raising concerns about chemical pollution. Newer projects like the Clean Access Salsa expedition to Lake Mercer employ sterile hot water drills, but even these can't eliminate all risks. The irony is stark. Our quest to uncover ancient life might erase it forever. Some researchers argue these lakes should remain untouched, their mysteries preserved until technology allows non-invasive exploration. Others counter that the scientific payoff, understanding extremophiles that could hint at life on other worlds, justifies the gamble. Beyond biology, Lake Vostok holds another tantalizing possibility: physical artifacts. Sediment cores from the lake's floor contain layers of material deposited over epochs, including mineral grains from ancient Antarctic soils and possible organic remnants from when the continent was still green. If early humans or their predecessors ever set foot here, traces of their presence, tools, fire pits, even genetic material, could lie preserved in this deep freeze archive. The challenge: distinguishing between natural formations and human-made objects in an environment where pressure and time twist expectations. A sliver of metal could be a meteorite fragment or a relic of a forgotten civilization. Until we can explore without destruction, the lake keeps its most guarded secrets. What makes subglacial lakes like Vostok so compelling isn't just what they might hide, but what they represent: a parallel Earth untouched by time. They force us to reconsider the boundaries of life and the fragility of ecosystems we've yet to fully understand. Each drop of water from these hidden depths carries a story millions of years in the making, waiting patiently beneath the ice for its next chapter to be written, whether by nature's hand or our own. What if Antarctica's deepest secrets aren't human at all? Among the most electrifying theories surrounding the frozen continent is the idea that it hosts something far older and stranger than lost civilizations' extraterrestrial activity. From whispers of underground alien bases to claims of otherworldly encounters, Antarctica's icy expanse has become a magnet for UFO lore. The stories often trace back to Admiral Byard's cryptic Operation Highjump diary entries, where he allegedly described encounters with disc-shaped aircraft possessing unfathomable speed. But the most explosive claims come from modern whistleblowers like Corey Goode, who insists Antarctica isn't just hiding ruins, it's a hub for ancient alien technology. Goode's testimonies, though controversial, paint a picture straight out of science fiction. He describes sprawling underground facilities carved into the bedrock, housing preserved remains of a pre-human civilization wiped out by a cataclysmic event. According to him, these ruins contain artifacts so advanced they defy current physics energy devices, anti-gravity propulsion systems, even portals to other dimensions. More chilling are his accounts of ancient builder race relics allegedly left behind by an interstellar species that visited Earth millions of years ago. While skeptics dismiss Goode as a fabulist, his narrative echoes older legends. Indigenous cultures from the Andes to Polynesia speak of sky gods who descended from the south, bringing forbidden knowledge before vanishing into myth. The UFO connection gained traction in recent decades with declassified government documents and military testimonies. In 2004, Chilean Navy pilots filmed a bizarre, cigar-shaped object streaking across Antarctic skies at impossible speeds, footage later analyzed by their government's UFO research agency. Then there's the anomalous Blood Falls phenomenon, where iron-rich water spills from Taylor Glacier, staining the ice crimson. While scientists attribute this to extremophile bacteria, conspiracy theorists propose a more exotic explanation: the runoff from a hidden metallic structure deep within the glacier, possibly of non-human origin. Even NASA satellite data fuels speculation. Thermal imaging has detected unexplained heat sources beneath the ice, far from any known geothermal vents. Could these be energy signatures from active technology buried for millennia? Proponents point to similar anomalies at other global hotspots like Peru's Nazca lines or Iraq's ancient Babylon, suggesting a pattern of clandestine extraterrestrial influence. The most persistent rumor involves a massive metallic oval structure detected by ground-penetrating radar near the South Pole, dubbed the anomaly by researchers. Its perfectly smooth surface and geometric precision have led to wild theories, from a crashed UFO to an alien outpost sealed under ice during Earth's last polar shift. Separating fact from fantasy requires navigating a labyrinth of classified reports, dubious leaks, and cosmic-scale speculation. Mainstream scientists argue these phenomena have terrestrial explanations: magnetic disturbances, glacial dynamics, or even secret military projects testing advanced propulsion. Yet the persistence of these stories hints at something deeper: humanity's fascination with the idea that we're not alone and that Antarctica, Earth's last great wilderness, might hold the key to proving it. Whether these tales are elaborate hoaxes, misunderstood science, or fragments of a truth too staggering to comprehend, they've cemented the continent's reputation as a place where the line between reality and legend doesn't just blur, it vanishes entirely. Plato's account of Atlantis isn't just a myth, it's a riddle wrapped in geological clues. In his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, he describes a mighty island empire beyond the Pillars of Hercules, boasting advanced technology, concentric rings of water and land, and a catastrophic end swallowed by the sea in a single day and night of misfortune. For centuries, scholars have scoured the globe for Atlantis, pointing to the volcanic ruins of Santorini or the submerged plateaus near the Azores. But what if they've been searching the wrong hemisphere entirely? A growing cohort of researchers argues that Plato's lost civilization might lie buried under Antarctica's ice, a theory that reshapes the entire puzzle. The connection hinges on Plato's geographic clues. He places Atlantis in the far west, a vague term for ancient Greeks who knew little of the Atlantic's expanse. But his description of a land larger than Libya and Asia combined defies Mediterranean geography unless Antarctica's ice-free past is considered. During the last interglacial period, around 120,000 years ago, global sea levels rose 16 feet higher than today, exposing coastal shelves now submerged. Antarctica's western margins, currently under the Ross and Weddell Seas, could have been habitable peninsulas. Plato's mention of cold, resinous trees might align with Antarctica's fossilized beech forests, while his reference to elephants, creatures adapted to both warm and icy climates, fits theories of migratory megafauna crossing ancient land bridges. The most striking parallel lies in Atlantis's layout. Plato describes a central citadel of alternating water and land rings, a design echoed in satellite scans of Antarctica's Wilkes Land anomaly. This massive circular formation, 300 miles wide, features concentric ridges resembling artificial canals. Geologists attribute it to a 250-million-year-old asteroid impact, but alternative researchers note its uncanny resemblance to Plato's schematics. Even more compelling are sonar surveys of the continent's subglacial topography, revealing geometric patterns near the Shackleton Range that mirror Atlantean harbor descriptions. If these are natural formations, they're the most architecturally serendipitous ones on Earth. Critics counter that Plato's timeline Atlantis fell 9,000 years before Solon's era clashes with Antarctic glaciation. The continent's ice sheets formed millions of years prior, making human habitation impossible. But here's the twist: Plato's numbers might be mistranslated. Ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, his purported source, often used symbols for 100 and 1000 interchangeably. A mere 900 years before Solon places Atlantis's collapse near 1500 BCE, coinciding with the thorough eruption, a cataclysm so violent it likely inspired flood myths across cultures. Could Antarctica, as Atlantis, be a garbled memory of two events? A pre-glacial civilization's fall merged with Thera's destruction in oral tradition. The Azores and Santorini theories can't be dismissed outright. Santorini's Minoan ruins showcase advanced Bronze Age engineering, including multi-story buildings and sophisticated drainage, traits Plato admired. The Azores Plateau, submerged after the last ice age, fits his beyond the pillars location, yet neither matches the sheer scale of Atlantis's described empire. Antarctica, though remote, offers something neither can: the possibility of a landmass so transformed by catastrophe that its very existence was erased not just by water but by ice. Plato wrote of Atlantis sinking into the depths. Perhaps he meant not the ocean floor but the abyss of time, buried under frozen layers we're only beginning to penetrate. Whether Atlantis was real or allegorical, its linkage to Antarctica forces us to reconsider how civilizations rise and vanish. The parallels: ringed cities, sudden destruction, forgotten knowledge resonate because they mirror humanity's deepest fears. That progress is fragile, and nature's fury can undo millennia of achievement in hours. Antarctica's icy silence may hold no ruins, no golden statues, no proof. Or it may guard the ultimate cautionary tale, waiting for the right moment to thaw. Long before European explorers dreamed of Terra Australis Incognita, indigenous cultures wove stories of a mysterious southern land into their oral traditions. The Maori of New Zealand speak of Te Reo a Moi, a vast submerged continent their ancestors supposedly voyaged from, a place now mapped by geologists as Zealandia. But their legends go further, describing snow-capped peaks and frozen shores beyond the known world, guarded by taniwha, powerful serpentine beings. Similar tales echo across Polynesia. In Rapa Nui's oral history, Hotu Mata, their founding ancestor, arrived from a sinking land called Hiva, where mountains touched the sky and never melted. Could these be fragmented memories of Antarctica's ice-free past, preserved through generations? The evidence extends beyond mythology. Traditional Polynesian navigation, perfected over millennia without compasses or charts, relied on an intimate understanding of stars, currents, and bird migrations. Master navigators could traverse thousands of miles of open ocean with uncanny precision. When European explorers first reached the South Pacific, they found islands already inhabited, suggesting Polynesians had explored farther south than previously believed. Cook's journals from 1775 note meeting Maori who described great white lands beyond their southern voyages, details that align with Antarctica's glacial coastline. Even more compelling are the Marshall Islands stick charts, ancient mapping tools showing wave patterns that some researchers argue include Antarctic circumpolar currents. Australia's Aboriginal cultures add another layer to this puzzle. The Gunai-Kurnai people of Victoria tell of Barumba, a creator spirit who descended from the south bringing knowledge, while Yolngu legends describe a time when their ancestors traded with pale-skinned visitors from icy realms. Rock art in Arnhem Land depicts figures wearing what appear to be hooded parkas, garments unnecessary in Australia's tropical north, but ideal for polar conditions. Could these stories reflect contact with Antarctic dwellers before the freeze, or perhaps with descendants of those who fled the encroaching ice? The strongest argument for pre-modern Antarctic knowledge comes from the Inca. Spanish chroniclers recorded that Pachacuti, the ninth Sapa Inca, possessed a quipu, a knotted cord record detailing lands beyond Tawantinsuyu's borders, including a white desert where the sun slept. Inca oral history speaks of Viracocha, a bearded god who emerged from Lake Titicaca, then departed southward across the sea. When conquistadors showed the Inca a 16th-century European map depicting Terra Australis, they reportedly identified it instantly, calling it by a Quechua name meaning "land of the ancestors." This cultural memory finds physical support in the mysterious Nazca lines, whose giant geoglyphs include shapes mirroring Antarctica's subglacial topography, as if someone had mapped the continent beneath the ice. What makes these traditions so extraordinary isn't just their consistency across cultures, but their scientific plausibility. During the Holocene climatic optimum 6,000 years ago, milder conditions might have made Antarctica's northern edges habitable. Polynesians, whose maritime technology allowed them to reach remote islands like Hawaii and Easter Island, certainly had the capability to venture farther south. The question isn't whether they could have reached Antarctica, it's whether they did and what they might have witnessed there. Frozen in these myths could be the last echoes of a time when humanity's southern frontier wasn't a forbidden wilderness, but a living, breathing world awaiting its rediscovery. Antarctica's ice doesn't just conceal landscapes, it preserves them like a time capsule, locking away fragments of a world that vanished millions of years ago. Among the most startling finds are fossilized remnants of forests that once thrived near the South Pole. In the Transantarctic Mountains, scientists have uncovered petrified tree stumps, their rings still visible, telling a story of seasons that no longer exist on the frozen continent. These aren't scrubby Arctic willows, but the remains of towering conifers and beech trees, some over 20 meters tall, suggesting a climate once as mild as modern-day New Zealand. Even more astonishing are the leaf impressions found in sedimentary rock, delicate ferns and flowering plants pressed into stone, proof that Antarctica was not just habitable but lush. But it's not just flora that emerges from the ice. The rocky cliffs of Seymour Island have yielded bones of prehistoric creatures that defy imagination. Giant penguins standing as tall as humans, marsupials that migrated across land bridges from South America, and even marine reptiles like plesiosaurs, their streamlined bodies adapted to ancient polar seas. These fossils paint a picture of an ecosystem far richer than anything Antarctica supports today. Yet the real enigma lies in the gaps between these discoveries. If the ice can preserve the skeleton of a 40-million-year-old whale, could it also safeguard traces of something far more recent human artifacts? The challenge is monumental. Traditional archaeology relies on stratigraphy, layers of soil and sediment that build up over time, preserving context. Antarctica's ice, however, is a dynamic, crushing force. Glaciers grind rock to powder, and shifting ice sheets can scatter debris across hundreds of miles. Even if human tools or structures were buried here, they'd face obliteration by millennia of glacial movement. Yet tantalizing clues persist. In 2017, researchers scanning the ice near the Ellsworth Mountains detected metallic anomalies, dense, concentrated objects unlike the surrounding geology. Could these be fragments of ancient tools or merely mineral deposits? Without physical extraction, the answer remains frozen in uncertainty. The logistics of deep ice archaeology are as harsh as the environment itself. Drilling through kilometers of ice requires technology normally reserved for oil exploration or climate science. Core samples, while invaluable for studying Earth's history, are narrow cylinders barely wider than a coffee cup. Spotting a spear tip or pottery shard in such a tiny window would be like finding a needle in a continent-sized haystack. Even if artifacts were recovered, proving their origin would be fraught. An oddly shaped stone might be a primitive tool or just a rock shaped by chance. The infamous Antarctica skull hoax of 2016, where a photo of a Patagonian fossil was mislabeled as human, underscores how easily hope can outpace evidence. Despite these hurdles, some researchers argue we're looking in the wrong places. Instead of focusing on the ice sheet's interior, they turn to Antarctica's fringes regions like the dry valleys, where wind-scoured terrain exposes ancient soils. Here, rare patches of thawed ground offer a glimpse of what might lie buried elsewhere. In 2019, a team analyzing sediment layers found traces of microscopic charcoal, hinting at possible human fires. The dates, though inconclusive, clustered around 5,000 years ago, a time when Egyptian pyramids were rising and Stonehenge was being erected. Could intrepid seafarers have ventured this far south, drawn by myths or resources, leaving only embers as their legacy? The absence of definitive proof isn't proof of absence, it's an invitation to dig deeper, both literally and figuratively. What makes these questions so compelling isn't just the potential for discovery, but what it would mean if we found nothing. Antarctica's fossil record proves life flourished here under conditions we'd consider unthinkable today. If humanity's fingerprints are absent, it forces us to ask, why not? Were we truly absent, or is the evidence simply too elusive, too fragile, or too well hidden? The ice guards its secrets with a patience that dwarfs human ambition. Every scrape of a trowel, every radar ping into the depths is a whisper against the roar of time. But whispers, when pieced together, can sometimes tell the most extraordinary stories. Operation Icebridge didn't just map Antarctica's surface, it peeled back the ice like a lid, revealing a hidden world beneath. For nearly a decade, NASA, a fleet of aircraft crisscrossed the continent, armed with radar systems capable of penetrating miles of frozen layers. The data they collected wasn't just geological, it was a time machine, exposing landscapes untouched for millions of years, among the most jaw-dropping discoveries. A network of ancient river valleys, some wider than the Grand Canyon, carved by flowing water when Antarctica was a green paradise. But it's the unnatural precision of certain features that really sparks debate. Near the South Pole, radar scans detected a series of near-perfect right angles and grid-like formations stretching for kilometers, patterns that look less like erosion and more like the ghostly footprints of infrastructure. The controversy centers around what these shapes represent. Mainstream glaciologists argue they're the result of ice dynamics, where glaciers scrape bedrock into geometric fractures or where subglacial water freezes and expands in predictable ways. Yet other researchers point to the sheer regularity of these formations. One particular anomaly near the Ellsworth Mountains appears as a cluster of evenly spaced, linear depressions resembling foundations or roads. When overlaid with Plato's descriptions of Atlantis' circular city design, the alignment is uncanny enough to make even skeptics pause. Icebridge's lead scientist initially dismissed these interpretations, but in a candid interview, admitted the patterns were unlike any purely glacial feature I've seen in 40 years of research. The most heated debate swirls around an area dubbed the Maze by analysts, a region where radar shows dozens of parallel channels intersecting at precise 80-degree angles. Natural drainage systems rarely exhibit such uniform geometry, leading some to propose these could be remnants of an ancient agricultural grid or water management system. Comparisons have been drawn to the Qanat systems of Persia or the raised field farms of the pre-Inca Tiwanaku, both designed to cultivate harsh environments. If humans did inhabit Antarctica during a temperate phase, such adaptations would have been essential for survival. Detractors counter that pressure ridges where colliding ice sheets buckle underlying rock can mimic artificial structures. But the counterpoint, pressure ridges typically form chaotic, uneven patterns, not repeating symmetrical ones. What makes Icebridge's data so compelling is its resolution. Earlier satellite surveys could only hint at subglacial topography, but these radar flights mapped the bedrock with meter-scale precision. In one startling dataset, a 30-kilometer-long crescent-shaped ridge appears to encircle what might have once been a natural harbor, a feature eerily similar to ancient Mediterranean ports. Sediment analysis suggests this basin held liquid water as recently as 12,000 years ago, coinciding with the Younger Dryas period when global sea levels rose dramatically. Could this have been a sheltered anchorage for seafarers before the ice claimed it? The scientific community remains divided, but the very possibility forces us to reconsider the adaptability of early civilizations. Perhaps the most tantalizing clue lies not in the shapes but in the materials. Ice Bridge's gravimetry instruments detected dense metallic deposits beneath several anomalous sites, readings inconsistent with typical Antarctic geology. While volcanic ore could explain some signatures, the concentrations are unusually pure, localized, and aligned with the contested structures. Ancient metallurgy often involved copper and tin extraction for bronze production, metals that leave distinct gravitational fingerprints. Until direct sampling is possible, these remain speculative connections, but they add fuel to a fire that traditional archaeology can't easily extinguish. Operation Ice Bridge's legacy isn't just about filling blank spaces on a map. It's about confronting the uncomfortable gaps in our historical narrative. Every pass of the radar peeled back another layer of questions. If these formations are natural, they represent geological processes we've yet to fully understand. If even one proves artificial, the story of human civilization may need rewriting. The ice doesn't give up its secrets easily, but with each technological leap, we get closer to deciphering whether Antarctica's buried landscapes are merely the work of time and pressure, or something far more extraordinary. Deep in Antarctica's McMurdo Dry Valleys, a 5-story waterfall pours from the tongue of Taylor Glacier, but this is no ordinary cascade. Known as Blood Falls, its waters streak the ice in lurid crimson, as though the glacier itself is bleeding. The effect comes from iron-rich brine trapped beneath the ice for over 1 million years. When this ancient seawater breaches the surface, its dissolved iron oxidizes upon contact with air, staining the ice the color of rust. The result is one of Earth's most surreal natural wonders, a dripping wound in the frozen landscape that seems ripped from a horror novel. Yet the true marvel of Blood Falls isn't its ghastly hue, it's what thrives within. Despite sub-zero temperatures, darkness, and salinity 3 times that of the ocean, this brine hosts a thriving ecosystem of extremophile microbes. These iron-metabolizing organisms exist without sunlight or oxygen, surviving on sulfates and trace minerals that predate the glacier's formation. Their existence rewrites our understanding of life's limits, proving that even Antarctica's harshest corners can cradle biological activity. If microbes can persist here, preserved in icy isolation for epochs, what else might this extreme environment safeguard? The implications stretch far beyond microbiology. Blood Falls offers a blueprint for how organic material, perhaps even traces of ancient civilizations, could endure under Antarctic ice. Iron oxides, like those staining the falls, act as natural preservatives, inhibiting bacterial decay. Similar chemical processes have been found mummifying woolly mammoths in Arctic permafrost. But Antarctica's ice is far older and more stable, creating a time capsule that could protect delicate organic compounds for millions of years. When researchers drilled into Lake Mercer, another subglacial Antarctic reservoir, they recovered fossilized algae and aquatic fungi dating back to the last interglacial period, proof that the continent's frozen vaults can preserve life forms across geological timescales. This raises a provocative possibility. Could human artifacts or even biological traces of early explorers survive in similar conditions? In 2019, scientists studying Patagonian glaciers discovered intact 1,000-year-old arrow shafts preserved by ice's anoxic environment. Antarctica's colder, drier climate would offer even better protection. The challenge lies in locating such relics beneath miles of moving ice, a task akin to finding a needle in a continent-sized haystack. Yet Blood Falls demonstrates how Antarctica's geology can bring hidden deposits to the surface, offering natural sampling of its buried secrets. The falls also hint at how ancient knowledge might have endured. Indigenous Arctic cultures used iron oxides as pigments in cave paintings that survived millennia. If prehistoric humans reached Antarctica during a warm phase, could they have left similar markers in sheltered caves or rock faces now entombed by ice? Recent LIDAR surveys in Greenland revealed Viking structures buried under glacial sediment, structures invisible to the naked eye but detectable through spectral analysis. Applied to Antarctica, such technologies might uncover hidden chambers or artificial patterns beneath the ice, waiting for their oxidation-rich moment to emerge, just like Blood Fall's crimson revelation. What makes this crimson cascade so extraordinary isn't just its science, but its symbolism. It stands as proof that even in Earth's most inhospitable reaches, life and perhaps history finds a way to persist. The falls whisper a tantalizing promise that Antarctica's ice isn't just a barrier but a preservative, sealing away stories we've only begun to decipher. Every droplet of iron-laden water is a reminder that beneath the sterile white surface, the past may still pulse with color, waiting for its moment to bleed into the present. As Antarctica's ice retreats at an unprecedented pace, it isn't just coastlines and ecosystems feeling the impact. It's the very secrets buried beneath millennia of frost. Each summer, melting glaciers expose patches of land unseen for hundreds of thousands of years, offering scientists a fleeting glimpse into a lost world. In 2017, researchers on the Antarctic Peninsula stumbled upon something extraordinary: a layer of moss beds perfectly preserved under the ice for nearly 6,000 years, now thawing into the open air. These fragile ecosystems, frozen in time since the dawn of human civilization, are just the beginning. As the melt accelerates, what else might emerge from the ice? The scientific implications are staggering. Glacial ice acts as a natural archive, trapping everything from atmospheric gases to biological material in pristine condition. When the Larsen Ice Shelf collapsed in 2002, it revealed underwater ecosystems that had been sealed off for 12,000 years, a time capsule from the last ice age. Similar discoveries could await in Antarctica's interior, where subglacial lakes and buried valleys might hold clues to Earth's climatic past. But this opportunity comes with a cruel paradox. The same warming that uncovers these treasures also destroys them. Artifacts, fossils, and even ancient DNA degrade rapidly once exposed to air, moisture, and microbes. It's a race against time. Researchers must locate and document these finds before they vanish forever. For archaeologists, the stakes are even higher. Imagine a scenario where melting ice reveals the outline of a stone structure or a cluster of tools, proof of human presence in Antarctica's distant past. The continent's edges, now shedding ice at alarming rates, were once coastal zones that could have supported temporary settlements. In Norway's melting glaciers, hikers have discovered Viking artifacts like tunics and spears preserved for over 1,000 years. Antarctica's colder, drier ice could theoretically safeguard even older relics, but without systematic surveys, these objects could crumble to dust before they're ever recorded. The window for discovery is narrowing, and the competition between preservation and loss has never been more urgent, yet the risks extend beyond mere physical decay. Thawing ice also threatens to erase invaluable climate data. Ice cores drilled from Antarctica's depths contain bubbles of ancient air, snapshots of Earth's atmosphere from hundreds of millennia ago. These records help scientists predict future climate patterns, but as temperatures rise, the oldest, deepest layers are at risk of melting away before they can be studied. It's a bitter irony. The very process that unlocks Antarctica's secrets also ensures some will never be fully understood. The continent's frozen libraries are burning, and we've only just begun to read their contents. The ethical dilemma is equally complex. Should we intervene to protect exposed artifacts or let nature take its course? In Greenland, archaeologists have scrambled to recover Viking artifacts exposed by melting permafrost, but Antarctica's scale and remoteness make such efforts nearly impossible. Even if we could shield every emerging relic, should we? Some argue that these objects belong to the ice, their degradation part of a natural cycle. Others counter that humanity has a duty to preserve any traces of our shared past, especially if they rewrite history. The debate mirrors larger questions about our role in a changing world. Are we observers, stewards, or something in between? One thing is certain: Antarctica's melting ice is rewriting the rules of discovery. Every summer, new cracks in the glacial armor reveal fragments of a world we've never known. Satellite images now show strange, geometric shadows beneath thinning ice sheets, patterns that could be geological quirks or something far more significant. The truth may lie somewhere in the thaw, waiting for the right moment to emerge, but time is the one resource we can't mine from the ice. As the melt accelerates, the continent's hidden stories face a stark choice: reveal themselves now or disappear forever into the rising sea. The most spine-tingling accounts of Antarctica's hidden past don't come from satellites or ice cores. They come from the hushed confessions of those who claim to have been there. Over the past decade, a growing chorus of whistleblowers ranging from retired military officers to former contractors has come forward with stories that sound ripped from a sci-fi thriller. One of the most explosive testimonies originated from a man identified only as Brian, a former Navy flight engineer who alleges he witnessed a massive, octagonal structure buried beneath the ice during a classified survey mission. His detailed description of metallic surfaces reflecting radar in impossible ways and strange glyphs etched into walls defied all conventional explanations. But what gives these claims traction isn't just the drama, it's the credentials of those making them. Another account comes from a geologist who worked on a now-terminated NSF-funded project, who swore under anonymity that core samples near the Shackleton Range contained layers of alloyed metals with isotopic ratios found nowhere in nature. Not all whistleblowers are anonymous. Lieutenant Colonel Wendell Stevens, a retired U.S. Air Force pilot, went public in the 1980s with records of debriefings he'd conducted with engineers who claimed to have serviced thermal drilling units near the South Pole, devices capable of melting through miles of ice to access subterranean chambers. These accounts gain eerie plausibility when cross-referenced with declassified Cold War-era documents like the Pentagon's 1966 Report on Unidentified Subterranean Phenomena, which explicitly mentions anomalous thermal signatures beneath Antarctic ice sheets. Even more compelling are the parallels between these modern testimonies and older ones, like the diary of Admiral Byard, whose alleged post-Highjump writings describe discussion with individuals possessing advanced technical knowledge beneath the ice. The consistency across decades is hard to dismiss as mere coincidence, yet for every detailed account there are glaring red flags. Many whistleblowers emerge through fringe media outlets or YouTube channels with monetization incentives, and some later recount their stories. The infamous Spartan 1 leak, a 2017 video purporting to show a Navy SEAL team recovering alien artifacts, was later debunked as a viral marketing stunt. Psychologists point to the Mandela effect phenomenon, where false memories can propagate through tight-knit communities, reinforcing shared delusions. And then there's the issue of access. Antarctica's research stations are tightly controlled environments. The idea that contractors could stumble upon ruins without triggering immediate classification stretches credulity. Skeptics argue these narratives exploit the public's fascination with secrecy. After all, if no one can visit these sites, no one can disprove them either. What's often overlooked are the geopolitical undercurrents fueling these revelations. Several whistleblowers tie their accounts to Cold War-era programs, suggesting a deliberate campaign to weaponize Antarctic mysteries. One recurring thread involves the alleged discovery of zero-point energy devices, technology rumored to draw power from quantum fluctuations, which would explain the military's obsessive interest. These claims dovetail with documented historical facts, like Nazi Germany's obsession with Antarctic expeditions and the U.S. military's abrupt pivot to peaceful research in Antarctica after Operation Highjump's bizarre conclusion. Whether these connections are evidence of a cover-up or simply the human tendency to pattern match remains hotly debated. Perhaps the most measured perspective comes from Dr. Michael Salla, an exopolitics researcher who's interviewed over 24 Antarctic whistleblowers. He notes that even among those with verified credentials, accounts vary wildly, from descriptions of prehistoric human settlements to claims of active extraterrestrial bases. This inconsistency, he argues, suggests a deliberate disinformation salad tactic used by intelligence agencies to muddy the waters around real discoveries. The truth, if it exists, may lie buried not just under ice, but under layers of half-truths and staged leaks designed to discredit legitimate inquiry. What makes these testimonies impossible to ignore isn't their veracity, but their persistence. From the 1940s to today, the same motifs reappear: hidden ruins, advanced technology, and a veil of secrecy so thick it breeds both obsession and skepticism. Whether these stories are glimpses of a reality too strange to acknowledge or merely modern myth-making, they've become inseparable from Antarctica's mystique. In a continent where the landscape itself defies belief, perhaps the most human response is to fill the void with stories that, regardless of their truth, reveal our endless hunger to uncover what lies beneath. What if Antarctica's buried secrets aren't unique, but part of a pattern we've seen before, one that mainstream archaeology routinely dismisses until the evidence becomes undeniable? Take Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, a monumental complex carved with intricate animal reliefs, buried deliberately 12,000 years ago. When it was first uncovered in the 1990s, experts insisted such sophisticated stonework couldn't belong to the prehistoric hunter-gatherers we thought dominated that era. Yet there it stood, rewriting the timeline of human achievement. Now compare that to Antarctica's geometric anomalies beneath the ice, equally out of place, equally disruptive to conventional history. Why does one site get a paradigm shift while the other gets sidelined as a glacial quirk? The resistance isn't just about evidence, it's about accessibility. Göbekli Tepe lies in arid hills, easily excavated. Antarctica's potential ruins are locked under miles of ice, shielded from traditional archaeology's trowels and brushes. But consider Dwarka, the ancient Indian city submerged off Gujarat's coast. For centuries, its existence was dismissed as myth until marine archaeologists discovered stone anchors, pottery, and drowned walls matching descriptions from the Mahabharata. Here, as with Antarctica, the evidence was hidden not by ice but by rising seas. The difference: Dwarka's ruins were reachable with diving gear. Antarctica's remoteness and extreme conditions create a convenient barrier to scrutiny, allowing skeptics to dismiss anomalies as just ice. Yet the parallels run deeper than logistics. Both Göbekli Tepe and Antarctica's theorized ruins share an eerie signature: precision. The Turkish site's T-shaped pillars align with celestial events, their carvings suggesting advanced astronomical knowledge. Similarly, Antarctica's alleged grid-like formations and pyramidal structures exhibit geometric regularity that defies random glacial action. Even the dating raises questions. Göbekli Tepe's construction coincides with the Younger Dryas period, a time of abrupt climate shifts that might have triggered societal collapses. Could Antarctica's hypothetical civilization have met the same fate during an earlier freeze? The pieces fit, but without physical artifacts to hold, the academic world hesitates to connect them. Mainstream science's skepticism often hinges on a lack of peer-reviewed data, a fair critique, but one that ignores history's lesson. Paradigm shifts rarely come from within established institutions. When Heinrich Schliemann unearthed Troy in the 1870s, scholars mocked him for taking Homer's epics literally. Now his discoveries are textbook staples. The same pattern repeats with the Antikythera mechanism, dismissed as a medieval oddity until proven to be a 2,000-year-old analog computer. Antarctica's enigmas face identical prejudice. The tools to explore them, ground-penetrating radar, satellite spectrometry, are relatively new, and their findings often languish in preprint limbo, too radical for journals yet too compelling to ignore. Underlying this tension is a deeper philosophical divide. Archaeology traditionally views civilization as a linear progression, hunter-gatherers to farmers to city dwellers. Sites like Göbekli Tepe shatter that model, proving complexity can precede agriculture. Antarctica's rumored ruins threaten to upend it further by suggesting advanced societies might have risen and fallen in environments we consider uninhabitable. That's a narrative earthquake most academics aren't ready to weather. It's easier to attribute Antarctica's oddities to pareidolia, our brain's tendency to see patterns, than to entertain another rewrite of human history. But the most telling parallel lies in the backlash. Just as Graham Hancock's theories about pre-Ice Age civilizations draw academic ire, Antarctic hypotheses are often relegated to fringe status. Yet when Robert Ballard found Black Sea flood evidence supporting Noah's Ark legends, or when geneticists confirmed the Polynesians' epic trans-Pacific voyages, these once controversial ideas became fact. The difference, tangible proof, until Antarctica yields its equivalent of Göbekli Tepe's pillars or Dwarka's walls, its mysteries will remain in limbo, caught between the tantalizing possibility of rediscovery and the rigid gates of institutional approval. The ice may hide more than ruins. It hides a reckoning with how we define civilization itself. Exploring Antarctica's buried secrets isn't just a matter of curiosity. It's an engineering nightmare on a scale few other frontiers can match. The continent's ice doesn't simply cover the ground. It actively destroys evidence through relentless pressure and movement. Glaciers behave like slow-motion bulldozers, grinding everything in their path to powder over millennia. Traditional excavation methods are useless here. Imagine trying to dig for pottery shards at the bottom of a mile-thick, constantly shifting avalanche. Even if human-made structures once existed, the ice may have pulverized them beyond recognition long ago. Current technology offers only partial solutions. Ice-penetrating radar can map bedrock contours, but distinguishing between natural rock formations and possible ruins remains guesswork. The radar's resolution is like trying to identify a city from a satellite photo taken through frosted glass. Shapes emerge, but details blur. Thermal drills can melt narrow boreholes through the ice, but these tunnels refreeze within hours, making sustained exploration impossible. Robotic probes like NASA's Endurance have mapped subglacial lakes, but their sensors aren't designed to detect cultural artifacts. Even if they stumbled upon a stone wall or metal tool, the odds of recognizing it amid glacial debris are vanishingly small. The environmental stakes magnify these challenges. Antarctica's fragile ecosystems mean researchers can't simply dynamite their way through the ice or deploy heavy machinery. Every drilled core, every robotic intrusion risks contaminating pristine environments that have been sealed for millions of years. Scientists studying Lake Vostok spent decades developing sterilization protocols just to sample water without introducing modern microbes. Scaling that caution to ruin hunting expeditions would require budgets comparable to space missions, with no guarantee of success. Yet breakthroughs loom on the horizon. Quantum gravimeters, still in experimental stages, could detect minute density variations beneath the ice, potentially pinpointing buried structures with unprecedented precision. Autonomous drones equipped with lasers might one day map subglacial cavities in 3D, creating virtual excavations without physical intrusion. The most promising avenue lies in AI-assisted analysis. Machine learning algorithms trained on geological and archaeological data could sift through terabytes of radar scans, flagging anomalies that human eyes might miss. Already, similar systems have identified hidden Maya ruins in Central America by spotting subtle vegetation patterns in satellite imagery. the ultimate game changer might come from an unexpected quarter: climate change itself. As Antarctica's ice retreats, newly exposed areas could reveal artifacts or foundations without any drilling required. This presents both opportunity and urgency. Once exposed, organic materials decay rapidly. The race is on to develop lightweight, rapid deployment archaeology kits that can document finds before they vanish. Some researchers envision fleets of autonomous rovers patrolling melt zones, scanning freshly uncovered ground with hyperspectral cameras. The irony is profound. The same ice that erases history also preserves it, creating a time capsule we're only now gaining the tools to open. Future explorers may look back at our current efforts the way we view early space probes, crude first steps toward unlocking a world we're only beginning to understand. What lies beneath Antarctica's frozen shield may require not just new technology, but entirely new ways of thinking about exploration itself. The answers won't come easily, but the questions themselves are reshaping our approach to the planet's last great wilderness. Antarctica's unforgiving landscape and unsolved enigmas have long been a fertile playground for storytellers, its isolation and extremes providing the perfect backdrop for tales of horror, wonder, and existential dread. John Carpenter's The Thing didn't just exploit the continent's freezing claustrophobia, it weaponized it, turning the outpost setting into a character itself, where the real monster wasn't just the shape-shifting alien, but the crushing paranoia of being trapped in a place where no one can hear you scream. The film's brilliance lies in how it mirrors real Antarctic tensions, the psychological toll of endless night, the fragility of human trust when cut off from civilization. It's no coincidence that Lovecraftian horror often borrows Antarctic motifs. The continent's vast, uncharted depths evoke the same primal fear as the cosmic unknown. But fear isn't the only emotion Antarctica inspires. The continent's mysteries have fueled speculative fiction for over a century, from H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness to modern hits like Annihilation, where the Shimmer's alien ecosystem echoes theories of prehistoric life surviving under the ice. These stories tap into something deeper than mere escapism. They reflect our collective anxiety about what might lie beyond the edges of the map. When Lovecraft described ancient ruins carved by alien architects, he was channeling the same awe that modern researchers feel when staring at satellite images of subglacial anomalies. The difference: today's science fiction often blurs into science possibility, like the X-Files episode Ice, which riffed on real concerns about pathogens thawing from permafrost. Gaming has embraced Antarctica's potential even more boldly. The survival horror classic Penumbra, Black Plague traps players in a research base where the walls whisper, while Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth forces protagonists to confront buried elder gods beneath the ice. These narratives thrive because they exploit Antarctica's duality, a place of scientific rigor where rationality collides with the inexplicable. Even strategy games like Civilization incorporate the continent as a late-game frontier, reinforcing its status as Earth's final puzzle. The question isn't just why Antarctica captivates, but how its portrayals evolve alongside real-world discoveries. When The Thing premiered in 1982, subglacial lakes were theoretical. Today, we know they exist, and films like Underwater adapt accordingly, swapping snow for subterranean oceans. Meanwhile, the booming genre of Arctic noir, books like Dark Matter by Michel Paver, transforms isolation into existential dread, proving that the continent's true power lies in its ambiguity. It's a blank screen for our deepest fears and wildest imaginings, where every fresh scientific headline can spawn a new wave of fiction. What makes these stories resonate isn't just their chills or spectacle, but their uncomfortable plausibility. When a Black Mirror episode imagines a neural experiment in an Antarctic simulation, or when Fortitude blends crime drama with genetic horrors, they're extrapolating from real-world concerns: climate change, rogue biotechnology, the ethics of isolation studies. The genius of Antarctic fiction is that it needs no aliens to be terrifying. The environment itself is antagonist enough. The same desolation that drives researchers to madness in encounters at the end of the world becomes the stage for humanity's last stand in Snowpiercer. Perhaps Antarctica endures in pop culture because it's the last place on Earth where "Here be dragons" still feels like a warning, not a punchline. Every excavation drone, every ice-penetrating radar scan inches us closer to rewriting history or confirming our darkest fantasies. Whether through the creeping horror of the Terror or the awe of Avatar's Pandora, these stories remind us that the unknown isn't just out there in space, it's buried beneath our feet, waiting for the ice to crack. For all the tantalizing theories about lost civilizations beneath Antarctica's ice, the scientific community remains sharply divided. Geologists point out that many so-called anomalies have perfectly ordinary explanations. Take the infamous pyramid near the Ellsworth Mountains. Its striking symmetry may seem artificial, but nunataks or wind-carved peaks often form near perfect geometric shapes under the right conditions. The Matterhorn in Switzerland or the iconic triangular faces of the Grand Tetons prove nature's ability to sculpt what looks engineered. Even the bizarre grid-like patterns detected by radar. They could be pressure ridges where colliding ice sheets fracture bedrock into unnatural-looking lines. The human brain is wired to seek patterns, and in a landscape as alien as Antarctica, it's easy to mistake glacial wear and tear for something more sinister. Then there's the parade of hoaxes muddying the waters. In 2016, a viral image of a humanoid skull found in Antarctica sparked a media frenzy until paleontologists identified it as a mislabeled fossil of a prehistoric sloth from Chile. Another persistent myth involves Nazi UFO bases, fueled by grainy photos of abandoned research stations doctored to look like alien hangars. These fabrications aren't harmless. They divert attention from genuine mysteries, like the unexplained heat signatures beneath the ice or the Piri Reis map's uncanny accuracy. Archaeologists emphasize that extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence, and so far, no verified human artifact older than a century has been recovered from beneath the continent's ice. But skepticism shouldn't be confused with dismissal. Even staunch critics admit Antarctica holds legitimate enigmas. The Wilkes Land gravitational anomaly, for instance, defies simple asteroid impact theories due to its precise circularity. Lake Vostok's extremophile ecosystems challenge assumptions about where life can thrive. And why do so many indigenous cultures share stories of a southern land swallowed by ice? The scientific method thrives on unanswered questions. It's the leap from "we don't know" to "it must be aliens" that raises eyebrows. The middle ground may lie in technology. As ice-penetrating radar improves, researchers are finding buried landscapes far stranger than fiction. Ancient river valleys, fossilized forests, even potential volcanic caves. These discoveries don't prove ancient astronauts or advanced civilizations, but they do suggest Antarctica's history is more complex than we've assumed. The key is patience. Unlike TV dramas, real science moves methodically, drilling cores, analyzing isotopes, ruling out false positives. Every hoax debunked sharpens the tools needed to uncover the truth, separating glacial pareidolia from genuine historical revolutions waiting to be unearthed. What makes Antarctica's mysteries so compelling isn't just what we might find, but the reminder that our planet still has stories left to tell. For every viral myth, there's a quieter, stranger truth lurking beneath the ice, one that doesn't need embellishment to captivate. The continent's greatest lesson might be this: wonder and rigor aren't opposites. They're the twin engines of discovery, pushing us to look deeper while keeping our feet firmly on the ice. The moment we crack open Antarctica's frozen archives, we face a moral crossroads, one where the thirst for knowledge collides with the responsibility to preserve. Imagine uncovering a lost city beneath the ice, only to realize our drills and shovels are erasing its delicate remnants with every scrape. this isn't hypothetical. In 2018, researchers studying melting glaciers in the Alps recovered a trove of Neolithic artifacts, only to watch organic materials disintegrate within hours of exposure. Antarctica's relics, if they exist, would be far older and more fragile. The ethical question is stark. Does humanity's right to understand its past justify potentially destroying it in the process? The Antarctic Treaty System, signed by 56 nations, designates the continent as a natural reserve devoted to peace and science. Yet its environmental protocols strictly limit disturbances to ecosystems guidelines that would apply doubly to archaeological sites. Disturbing a potential ruin might breach these agreements, setting a dangerous precedent. The stakes echo controversies like the excavation of Native American burial mounds in the 19th century, where artifacts were looted and sacred remains displayed as curiosities. Indigenous groups worldwide now demand repatriation of these objects, arguing that scientific curiosity shouldn't override cultural sovereignty. If Antarctica ever held human inhabitants, who speaks for them? The very act of digging risks repeating colonial mistakes, treating a shared heritage as up for grabs. Proponents of exploration counter that knowledge itself is a form of preservation. Lake Vostok's extremophiles, once studied, revealed survival strategies that could aid astrobiology. Similarly, understanding an ancient Antarctic culture might offer insights into climate resilience or lost technologies. But the comparison falters when considering irreplaceable heritage. When Ötzi the Iceman was discovered in the Alps, his 5,000-year-old body provided unprecedented insights into Copper Age life, but only because every thread of his clothing, every tool in his pack, was meticulously documented in situ. Antarctica's hypothetical sites wouldn't offer second chances. Meltwater infiltration, microbial decay, or even clumsy handling could obliterate context in moments. Technological solutions exist in theory: non-invasive LiDAR scans, AI reconstructions based on microscopic residues, but they're imperfect. Radar can't discern a carved glyph from a glacial scratch. Algorithms can't interpret cultural meaning from scatter patterns. The dilemma mirrors NASA planetary protection protocols for Mars, how to study potential life without contaminating it. Yet Antarctica adds a cruel twist. Unlike Mars, its ice is vanishing. Every year of delay means more artifacts lost to thaw, but rushing risks turning discovery into destruction. The clock is ticking, and the ice offers no easy answers, only choices that weigh our curiosity against our conscience. Perhaps the real lesson lies in humility. Antarctica's greatest secret might not be a buried city or alien artifact, but the realization that some doors once opened can't be closed. As we stand on the threshold of what could be humanity's most profound historical revelation, we're forced to ask, is some knowledge worth the price of its keeping? The ice doesn't care either way. It simply melts, taking its secrets with it or leaving them bare either way on its own terms. The next decade promises to peel back Antarctica's frozen layers like never before, armed with breakthroughs that sound ripped from science fiction. Leading the charge is the ambitious Beyond Epica project, set to drill 3 kilometers into the ice near Little Dome Sea. Their target, air bubbles trapped in ice over 1.5 million years old, a time capsule from Earth's last great climate transition. But this isn't just about ancient atmospheres. Hidden in those microscopic bubbles could be traces of pollen, volcanic ash, or even airborne particles from civilizations that thrived during warmer interludes. Imagine extracting DNA fragments from a time when Antarctica's northern coasts might have been habitable, a genetic whisper of lost ecosystems or perhaps even human presence. Meanwhile, NASA's upcoming Rise X mission redefines exploration without breaking the ice. These autonomous drones, equipped with quantum gravimeters, will map subglacial contours with centimeter precision. Unlike traditional radar, which struggles to distinguish between rock types, Reis X detects minute gravitational variations, potentially revealing buried metal objects or hollow chambers beneath the ice. Early tests in Greenland pinpointed Viking iron tools under glacial sediment, a tantalizing preview of what might lurk in Antarctica's deeper reaches. And then there's Project Loki, a collaborative effort between glaciologists and AI specialists training neural networks to recognize unnatural geometric patterns in ice-penetrating radar data. By feeding the algorithm scans of known ruins, from Machu Picchu to Angkor Wat, then setting it loose on Antarctica's subsurface, researchers hope to flag anomalies that human eyes might dismiss as glacial quirks. The private sector is joining the hunt with tools straight from a spy thriller. Startups like CryoSeek are developing hydrogel-based cryobots that melt through ice, then refreeze their tunnels behind them to avoid contamination. These probes could reach Lake Vostok's unexplored shores by 2030, carrying sensors to detect microbial life or something far stranger. Another company, Terra Deep, promises satellite-mounted lasers capable of vaporizing thin ice layers to expose buried artifacts, though environmentalists warn of unintended consequences for fragile ecosystems. What might these technologies uncover? The most realistic bets include perfectly preserved prehistoric plant matter, further evidence of Antarctica's green past, or even stone tools carried by early humans who ventured south during temporary thaws. But the wild cards are more exhilarating. Sonar anomalies matching Plato's descriptions of Atlantis' circular harbors, metallic alloys with compositions suggesting advanced metallurgy. Or the ultimate jackpot, fragments of writing or artwork, a direct message from a civilization swallowed by the ice. The greatest discovery might not be an object at all, but a paradigm shift. Proof that humans or their ancestors adapted to environments we've deemed uninhabitable, only to vanish when the climate turned. Every technological leap brings us closer to answering the haunting question at the heart of Antarctic exploration. Are we the first to seek secrets beneath this ice, or merely the latest in a line stretching back further than we dare imagine? The machines we're building today could soon whisper the answer not from the future, but from a past we're only beginning to fathom. Antarctica's mysteries aren't just scientific curiosities, they're political dynamite, wrapped in a fragile web of international treaties and whispered secrecy. On paper, the continent is a beacon of global cooperation, governed by the Antarctic Treaty System that prohibits military activity and promotes open research. Yet scratch the surface and a more complicated picture emerges. Nations racing to stake claims on resource-rich territories, militaries conducting scientific missions with suspiciously classified budgets, and a lingering Cold War-era suspicion that not all discoveries make it into public databases. The irony is palpable. A land meant for collective knowledge has become a chessboard for quiet power struggles. Take China's rapid expansion of research stations like the newly built Kinling base, equipped with satellite monitoring tech and runway capacities far exceeding typical scientific needs. Or Russia's mysterious drilling projects near Lake Vostok, where ice cores are allegedly analyzed for climate data, yet some samples vanish into unmarked labs. Even the United States' Operation Icebridge, while publicly framed as environmental research, relied on military-grade aircraft and sensors typically used for submarine detection. These overlaps between science and strategic interests aren't coincidental. Antarctica's untapped oil reserves, rare earth minerals, and freshwater reserves represent a 21st-century gold rush, veiled under the respectable cloak of glaciology and meteorology. The secrecy isn't always about resources, though. Some speculate it's about technology or even something more unsettling. When British Antarctic Survey scientists detected anomalous low-frequency radio waves in 2018, the data was abruptly classified, citing national security concerns. Independent researchers noted the signals originated near the South Magnetic Pole, where atmospheric conditions are ideal for advanced communication experiments. Whether testing hypersonic missile guidance or something more exotic, the incident highlights how easily transparency erodes when strategic advantages are at stake. Then there's the elephant in the icy room, the persistent theories of elite cover-ups, from claims that Admiral Byrd's Operation Highjump encountered technology not of this world, to whispers of a clandestine international group guarding Antarctic discoveries. Conspiracy narratives thrive in the absence of hard evidence. Skeptics dismiss these as fantasies, but history offers sobering precedents. The Manhattan Project's atomic research was hidden from public view for years, while the existence of Area 51 wasn't officially acknowledged until 2013. In a continent where fewer than 5,000 people winter over annually, controlling information isn't just possible, it's trivial. The tension between collaboration and concealment plays out starkly in climate science. While nations freely share ice core data to model global warming, satellite imagery of sensitive regions like the Thwaites Doomsday Glacier is sometimes delayed or redacted. The rationale varies, protecting proprietary sensor tech, avoiding panic over sea level rise projections, or masking vulnerabilities in territorial claims. Yet this opacity risks backfiring. When researchers at Chile's Universidad de Santiago identified a massive cavity beneath Thwaites using open-access EU satellites, their findings caught other nations off guard, exposing gaps in shared monitoring. Amid the mistrust, glimmers of hope persist. The Antarctic Treaty's Protocol on Environmental Protection, signed in 1991, temporarily bans mineral exploitation, buying time for diplomacy. Projects like the International Thwaites Glacier Collaboration prove rival nations can work together when existential threats loom. Even private entities are stepping in. Elon Musk's SpaceX now provides satellite internet to remote bases, democratizing data access. But the clock is ticking. As ice retreats and geopolitical temperatures rise, Antarctica's greatest test may not be unlocking its past, but preserving its fragile present as a commons rather than a conquest. The stakes couldn't be higher. If secrecy wins, we risk repeating the colonial scrambles that carved up continents and ignited wars. If transparency prevails, Antarctica could model how humanity handles shared frontiers from the ocean floor to Mars. The choice isn't just about what lies beneath the ice, but who we become in digging it up. Antarctica isn't just a frozen desert at the bottom of the world. It's a mirror held up to everything we think we know. Solving its riddles wouldn't merely add footnotes to history, it would tear up the textbook entirely. Imagine confirming that an advanced civilization thrived there during a temperate epoch. Overnight, the timeline of human achievement would stretch back further than we ever dared to speculate, forcing us to reconsider the very definition of progress. Ancient megaliths like Göbekli Tepe already hint that hunter-gatherers were capable of staggering complexity, but Antarctica's potential ruins could rewrite the narrative on a planetary scale. What if the pyramids of Egypt or the Nazca lines were echoes of a much older, global tradition, one that began on a now frozen continent? The implications would ripple through archaeology, theology, even our understanding of human resilience. But the stakes go beyond academia. Antarctica's secrets could redefine how humanity faces its greatest crisis, climate change. The continent's ice cores already serve as a climate time machine, revealing how Earth's atmosphere has shifted over millennia. Discovering that a society once flourished there and collapsed as temperatures plunged would transform Antarctica from a distant warning into a visceral cautionary tale. Suddenly, the fight against global warming isn't just about saving polar bears or coastal cities. It's about avoiding a fate that may have already claimed an entire chapter of human history. The psychological impact could be profound, turning abstract climate models into a story with ruins, artifacts, and faces we might one day put names to. Then there's the unifying power of a shared mystery. In an era of division, Antarctica's enigmas offer something rare, questions that belong to no nation but to everyone. The Piri Reis maps anomalies, the whispers of lost technology, even the eerie alignment of subglacial structures. None of these fit neatly into any country's origin myth. They're puzzles without borders, demanding collaboration across languages and ideologies. The International Space Station proved that humanity can cooperate in hostile environments when the goal transcends politics. Antarctica's unsolved riddles could do the same on Earth, turning a continent reserved for peace and science into a global workshop for discovery. Perhaps most tantalizing is the philosophical shift these discoveries might trigger. For centuries, we've viewed civilization as a linear ascent, from primitive tools to smart cities, with each generation surpassing the last. But what if Antarctica hides evidence of cycles of societies that rose, mastered their environment, and still fell to forces beyond their control? That realization would humble our technological arrogance, replacing the myth of endless progress with something more nuanced, an understanding that survival isn't guaranteed and that every golden age carries the seeds of its own winter. Ultimately, Antarctica's greatest gift may not be the answers it gives, but the questions it forces us to ask. Who were we? Who could we become? And what fragile threads connect us to those who might have stood where only ice stands today? The continent's silence isn't empty, it's pregnant with possibilities waiting for us to listen. So where does the evidence leave us in the hunt for lost civilizations beneath Antarctica's ice? On one side, the clues are undeniably tantalizing: satellite images of geometric anomalies that defy natural explanation, ancient maps depicting ice-free coastlines millennia before official discovery, and indigenous oral histories that speak of a lush southern land swallowed by frost. The sheer volume of coincidences strains belief. How could cultures separated by oceans and centuries share such strikingly similar stories unless rooted in some lost truth? Even modern expeditions keep stumbling upon oddities, like the metallic alloys with unnatural isotopic ratios or those eerie, grid-like patterns beneath the ice that look less like glacial fractures and more like the bones of a forgotten city. Yet for every compelling piece of evidence, skeptics have a counter. Those perfectly pyramidal mountains, nature sculpts jagged peaks into symmetrical shapes more often than we think. Just look at the Matterhorn or Mount Bullensteindur. The Piri Reis maps so-called Antarctica. Most cartographers argue it's a distorted South America, its coastline warped by 16th-century navigation errors. And as for the whispers of Nazi UFO bases or admiral byads, land beyond the pole, declassified documents reveal far more mundane explanations: classified radar tests and Cold War posturing. Even the most rigid ice core data shows Antarctica's glaciers formed millions of years before humans walked the Earth, leaving no plausible window for a Bronze Age metropolis to rise and fall. Here's the fascinating twist: both perspectives might contain seeds of truth. Antarctica's real story could be stranger than any single theory. Imagine a scenario where early humans ventured south during a temporary warm spell, leaving fleeting settlements that vanished under the ice, not a globe-spanning empire, but pockets of ingenuity erased by time. Or consider the possibility that our understanding of Earth's climatic shifts is incomplete, hiding brief habitable phases in the continent's deep past. Science thrives on these edge cases, the anomalies that nudge us toward bigger questions. What's undeniable is how much we still don't know. Less than 1% of Antarctica's subsurface has been mapped with precision, leaving entire kingdoms worth of secrets still buried. Every technological leap, from quantum gravimeters to AI-assisted radar analysis, brings us closer to peeling back another layer. The most exciting discoveries might still lie ahead, waiting for the right tool, the right pair of eyes, or the right meltwater crack to reveal them. This is where you come in. The best mysteries are solved by collective curiosity. Maybe you've stumbled upon an obscure manuscript that hints at forgotten expeditions, or spotted an anomaly in a satellite image that everyone else overlooked. Share those thoughts in the comments. This isn't just a one-way conversation. And if you're as hooked as I am on unraveling these enigmas, hit that subscribe button. We're just scratching the surface of Antarctica's secrets, and the next breakthrough could drop any day. Until then, keep questioning, keep digging, and remember, history isn't just written in books. Sometimes it's frozen in plain sight, daring us to look closer.